You're listening to the Why I Love Disney podcast. In this episode, we give you the definitive can't miss material on Disney Plus while you're home social distancing. Let's get right to it. It is hopefully everybody, all of you are well and you're practicing social distancing, and all of this will be over soon, and we'll look back and say, wow, we got through it all. But thoughts and prayers to all of you out there. We do care about you. If we can serve you in a way, let us know. But in service to you, actually, today we thought we would do a podcast all about, while you're social distancing and quarantined in your house with Disney Plus, what is the definitive list of things you ought to watch? What are we going to be watching over these next few weeks with our family movie nights as we're stuck in the house with only Disney Plus to watch? David, I'm excited about this list. You put a lot of thought and effort into this.
Well, not really, because you didn't give me a lot of time.
No, this is the I know that's true. But these are things. Okay, these are things you're excited about watching,
right.
And if you were you're stuck with your family or people are over the things over the next 2 weeks that you would be kind of going through on your list of what to watch on Disney Plus.
Right. And so I did this. I kind of made my list based on what's on Disney Plus, and just what my family likes, what we haven't seen in a long time or what we haven't seen before. But this list is not like, these are the top movies of all time. These are just things that I'm excited to watch.
Yeah, we'll get to that. The top movies of all. We'll tell you what those are later.
You love these lists, so here we go.
These lists are fun. All right, so let's go with it.
So I put down for my first thing on this list was, okay, we've already seen Mandolorian, and we've already seen the Imagineering project.
Both
Imagineering Story.
worth another watch. But
yes, we've already seen those. So I'm moving on from those. Two things on, if I was going to have a double, and I kind of did these as double features. 2 movies a night, just in case we have a movie night.
Sure.
So my first thing is 2 things that I want to see that are Disney Plus originals is Togo. And I still haven't seen Lady and the Tramp, so I've got those down. As
Togo that's William Dafoe, right?
Yeah, it's a
kind
story.
Of a rustic, looks Jack London-esque.
Yes, and it says Togo is the untold true story set in the winter of 1925 of champion dog sled trainer Leonard Sapala and his lead sled dog, Togo. Together they embark on an exhilarating and uplifting adventure across the African tundra.
That sounds awesome.
Not African tundra.
That
would be a new movie right there. The Alaskan
climate
tundra.
Change, you know?
So, yeah. And actually, I saw that it had a very high list. It was very ranked high on some websites.
I'm excited to see that too.
Rotten Tomatoes and some other things. The Lady and the Tramp did not.
It's a remake.
It's a remake, a live action remake. It doesn't have a great score on Rotten Tomatoes, but we haven't seen it, so it's like the only remake I haven't seen.
Gotcha. So
I thought that would be a fun night.
Disney Plus Originals night would be Togo and Lady and the Tramp. All right.
Yeah. So my second night, I thought it would be fun to do with my kids because my kids are teenagers, and so it'd be fun to do a throwback. And I called it, it's kind of a Pixar night, but Toy Story and Bug's Life. And the reason I picked those 2, one, but they were the very first 2. And my kids were very little when they first saw them. So it's been a long time since we've, as a family, watched Bug's Life in particular. And I think we've talked about this before. Like Bug's Life just has a lot of really fun things that you forget about because it is so old and it's just very underrated.
So what you're talking about, you have New Beginnings double feature. So like a nostalgia sort of go back to something.
Well, Pixar was like New Beginning.
Right.
I mean, it was, for its time, it was kind of a new beginning. Everything's new style. Things are starting over.
It was an entire new direction. For animation. It was all, Go ahead.
So, yes, it was a brand new beginning. And I remember when Toy Story came out, that the whole computer animation thing started and going, oh, is this as good? And it's really fun to see how Pixar has grown and just been a blockbuster
Yeah.
after another for years and
I
years
can't
and
argue
years.
with those. That's actually, I would be especially excited because we've been in the Toy Store world recently, but especially excited about A Bug's Life. 'Cause
But
it's been a long time.
if you've seen Toy Story 4 or even Frozen 2, some of the new animation that's been done the past year, and you go back and watch Toy Story and Bug's Life, you see like the great difference in time and how much animation has changed, even just in Pixar. So it's fun to go back and see those beginnings and how groundbreaking they were, but now how simple they look.
Yeah.
Compared.
What's your next category? Your next movie night?
Well, then I said, well, okay, so if we've had a night of new Disney Plus, and we've had a night of new, of kind of a Pixar night, to do like a vintage night. Now, this would be the hardest night to get my family to do. They all have a great appreciation for it, but to get my family to watch something like Snow White or Pinocchio would be probably pushing it. But maybe Dad would get a vintage night and get them to watch something old like that. And the one thing I like on Disney Plus, I would probably also be fun to get them to watch some things that they probably haven't seen, like some classic shorts from that era too, like Three Pigs and Steamboat Willie and some of those things. They may have seen parts or some of it, but they probably haven't seen it all. And that Disney Plus actually has a really good list of some of the best shorts from even that era.
Yeah.
So I would pick something like that where we watch some classic shorts and then maybe pick one vintage, something out of that golden era, either Snow White, Pinocchio, Dumbo, Fantasia, Bambi, something like that.
All fantastic. I think Pinocchio is my favorite out of those, but they're all, hold up for sure.
Yeah, and I can't remember the last when we have movie nights. We just don't rarely go back that far. So I thought maybe with Disney Plus we could pull up one of these. My next group, my next night, my double feature night is a Marvel night, and the two that I would like to go back and watch with my family are Doctor Strange and Black Panther.
Oh man, two of the best.
Yes.
Those are fantastic Marvel movies.
Doctor Strange, just because it's one of the ones I've seen the least, and there's a lot that I don't remember, and I think there's another one at least in the works down the road. And
Benedict Cumberbatch is such a great actor, and because he's more of an obscure character, I think when it came out, a lot of people were, I don't know, he's not one of the headliner, Avengers, right? And the movie is fantastic, and his character is fantastic, and it is very rewatchable too. That's a great one. I completely agree on Doctor Strange.
Yep.
And Black Panther.
And Black Panther, just a great movie. And we've talked about, it's ranked on a lot of movie lists and just as the very best.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the best all-time movies in general.
For me, other than until Endgame, Infinity War came out, it was my favorite Marvel movie for sure. Those are great. Marvel Night. Heck yeah. Love it.
And yes, and I think those are two good ones to go together. If I'm going to watch two movies, I can watch both of those together, whereas the Endgame, those are a little bit longer, more epic. So I tried to pick things that we could watch two in one night. Okay, then I did this next little part. I've got 3 different kids, and they all have completely different tastes. So I did a night for each of them, and if I was with one of my daughters, I think her 2 picks might be based on her childhood. We might watch Cinderella and Aladdin,
right?
Which would be a cool double feature because you've got something from the 50s and something from the 90s.
Yep.
A little bit different. My other daughter would probably would pick a little bit more like High School Musical and Frozen.
Yep.
Which High School Musical was both of those, High School Musical and Frozen, she was right at the right age when those things came out. So those were huge in her life, and she's a college student now, and they all, that age group knows those things well. And then if I was with my son, our throwback night together would be Robin Hood.
Oh yeah,
and Hercules.
Awesome, both great movies. Robin Hood being one of my all-time favorites as well, and older too.
Yes.
When was that? When was that made?
1973.
Wow. Yeah. I love Robin Hood.
Yeah.
And Hercules is great too. It's hilarious.
Both of those, my son, anything with swords and bow and arrows, and those were kind of our go-tos in his childhood. I would probably with Disney Plus. I'll skip on down a little bit. One thing I would try to do if I had a family night, I was looking for things that I don't think our family has ever watched. I've seen them, but I don't know that. So I picked two kind of random movies here. One was the original version of That Darn Cat.
Okay.
Have you ever seen that?
I have not seen
Haley
That Darn
Mills,
Cat. Okay.
who is in several Parent Trap and Pollyanna and a bunch of those classics from the early '60s. This is later '60s, early '70s. Let's see, I can't remember exactly, but it was classic Disney live action feature from 1965. It was 65.
Okay.
So and I haven't seen it since I was really little, and I don't know that my kids have ever seen it. So I picked that, and then I thought it'd be fun to pick another one from that era. So I picked one called what do I have here? I lost my list.
The Computer Wore Tennis Shoes.
Oh yeah, Computer Wore Tennis Shoes.
I'll be perfectly honest. I don't know what that is, and I don't know if I've ever heard of it.
It's you know who Kurt Russell is?
Oh yeah,
it's one of the Kurt Russell movies that he did.
Okay.
He did about 4 or 5 movies, and they're all teenage, late '60s, early '70s. I can't remember seeing that either. I'm sure I have, but
well, it sounds interesting, and the Kurt Russell Disney movies I'm usually a big fan of. So I'm curious. I'd love to check.
They're all pretty low budget, but yeah, I thought, hey, this is a good. I mean, at least there are things we haven't seen before.
Sure, interesting.
Kind of random, but I haven't seen them. Two, another. I called that my old is new again night because they're old, but they're kind of new to us. And a second old is new again night that I might do is one of Flight of the Navigator and The Rocketeer.
Oh yeah, both fantastic movies.
Those are both that I want to go back and see. It's been a long time. Even when Disney Plus came out, I'm going to go back and see these again. I just haven't done it yet.
Yeah, those are two I went to first when Disney Plus first got Disney Plus, and I would definitely watch again. Both incredible movies, and both right in the era of the 80s and early 90s. I think Rocketeer might have been late 80s, early 90s, right there and there when I was kind of late elementary school to middle school, and those were fantastic movies. Highly recommend those. Yeah, that would be fun night.
All right, let's see. If I was this was a tough one. I was looking for a classic live action night, and by classic I mean older than both of us. Something from whereas Rocketeer, Flight Navigator, that's a kind of a different era.
Mm-hmm.
Something even, and we both are both. Your family just watched Swiss Family Robinson. Mm-hmm. I kind of watched it, but if I would love to watch that with the family. So I'd get the family to watch Swiss Family Robinson, and then maybe the classic original Parent Trap.
Okay,
both kind of from the same era, somewhere around the early '60s, mid '60s. Kind of go there. Then another one I did was I kind of did enough for like a 2-week period here in case we were quarantined.
Maybe a month
for
maybe
2
8
weeks. I hope it's just 2 weeks, but I'm concerned it's not. But hey, I did thought an 80s night would be kind of fun.
Oh yeah.
And so the 80s night I picked Tron. The original Tron, 1982. He was Jeff Bridges. That's what I was saying.
Jeff Bridges.
Yeah, Jeff. I almost put down to watch Tron and then the sequel to Tron, the Tron Legacy, but it hasn't been that long since I've seen that. So anyway, I thought for an 80s night, Tron, because I'm sure my whole family hasn't seen that, and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, which was from 1989.
Oh yeah.
And man, I haven't seen.
Has your kids seen that before?
Probably.
Right.
I remember taking them to Disney World. Might have been the very first time we went to Disney World, and at Studios at Hollywood Studios they had, which was not Hollywood Studios then. It was probably
MGM.
Might have still been MGM.
Yeah.
I can't remember when it changed, but but the first time we went, they still had the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids land where the kids crawled through everything. So they remember that era. And there was also the special effects show back in the day of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, where you saw the kids ride on the bee, and they showed you how they did the
Oh, yeah.
at the parks. They showed you how they made the movie and all the special effects. So I definitely remember all that. So I think back in that era they saw it, but it's probably been 20 years, 15 years.
That would be a fun night. Tron and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids for 80s night.
80s night.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, so there's some things. I mean, I got other little things here, but one other, here's a good throwback, which, again, something I know that they've never seen that I want to go back and watch, was the original Escape to Witch Mountain and Return to Witch Mountain. Like, my kids saw the one with The Rock, the Race to Witch Mountain.
Yep.
But they've never seen, I think my son has, but all of us as a family have never watched. So I thought, hey, that'd be a fun sequels night where you go watch 2 movies back to back from that series.
That'd be cool.
That's going back in time. And I don't know that, I don't think they've ever seen those. So that was another one I was looking at. So anyway, those are some little fun pairings of things I was thinking of different movie nights.
Awesome. That'd be a lot. That's a lot of fun. I will say, I think what we need to give our viewers now, they're not viewers. I think what we need to give our listeners now is a definitive list of the can't miss, because we're assuming a few things. These are what we would do with themes and kind of movie night over the next few days. And that's great. But let's say somebody's just jumping into Disney Plus for the first time. They're home. Things are slowing down. They're checking this out. The can't miss.
That's a
Disney
tough
Plus.
list. That's 10 things that you can't miss from this entire catalog.
Exactly. And again, we'll give a little bit of leeway for like a franchise maybe, because you're going to have a lot of time on your hands over the next little bit. So you want to have plenty of material to work with here. Okay. So, but thinking of what would you tell someone, you can't miss this, and not like you would like it and you would watch it with them and they need to watch it too. And they would probably like it. And it's kind of universal. Your list, we've done this together. We talked about it a little bit. So, you want to let's give it to him. This is in no particular order either.
All right. Yes.
Right?
I'll go. I can go first.
Okay.
If there's one thing I would watch on Disney Plus, if I couldn't see anything else, I would watch the Imagineering Story. I keep wanting to call it the Imagineering Project. Sorry, the Imagineering Story. My favorite thing on there, but I can't get the name right. Imagineering Story. That would be my number one.
Can't miss this.
Can't miss this.
I agree. Completely incredible. I've recommended it to so many people.
It got a 100% score on some another thing that I saw recently. So.
Yeah, it's fantastic in every way. As far as like, it's a documentary, yet it's the story of Disney. If you're at all even interested, if you're on Disney Plus, you're probably interested in Disney just a little bit, and to see kind of how it all comes out.
It's mainly the history of the parks. Yep. And there's a little bit of other history in there, but it's the story of Disneyland to Disney World to Disney Paris, all the way to Shanghai. And what's coming in the future.
Completely agree. Got to see that out there. If you haven't seen it yet, check out the Imagineering Story. All right, what's next?
Am I going next?
Sure. We'll go through. These are both that we've agreed on.
Well, the other thing off of Disney Plus is the Mandalorian.
You got to see the Mandalorian. Everybody's talking about it. You got Baby Yoda. You got all sorts of things happening there. It's Star Wars. It's a cultural significance right now. It's universally praised. Right. I have not seen any negative reviews or feedback from anyone. And it's just stinking good. Right. It's great storytelling. It's bite-sized. It's not so much you can't handle it. It's episodic. There's interesting new characters. It's fantastic. You got to see The Mandalorian. Most of you probably have, but this is the ultimate list. This is the ultimate definitive list from Dustin and David and why I love Disney. So we got the Imagineering Story. We got The Mandalorian. Now it gets a little bit more into the catalog a little bit. So let's go from here.
Well, I'll jump in with some Pixar and say that I'm going to pick the ultimate Pixar would be the Toy Story franchise. That would be my pick.
I'm with you. That's
lots of great things, but if you were only going to if you could only see one, Toy Story 1 to Toy Story 4.
You got the Toy Story franchise is kind of encapsulate what Pixar is about. It has all the emotion, the animation, you see it, the character development, incredible voice acting. I agree. Toy Story needs to be on a list like this. For the ultimate Disney Plus.
And if you've never seen it, you've got to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. in addition, if you're going to one, we were talking about a classic to throw in there, and not for the sake of a classic. Like if classics don't go, they don't go.
Right.
This is the ultimate list, regardless. But we both kind of came to that one of either Snow White or Pinocchio
Right.
would be on the list. We would and I would probably say, of course, I have boys,
Right.
But I loved Pinocchio, and I've seen that dozens of times as a kid. I would kind of lean Pinocchio, but I totally get the Snow White argument too.
I would just either one of them for the if you've never seen them, those are two things that you really need, at least to see one of them. This is where it all begins.
Absolutely. And they're great stories too.
Yeah.
They're just great classic stories, and
completely different styles from lots of things
Yep.
on this list. But
and very old.
if you've never seen them, now with Disney Plus, now's your chance.
Absolutely. Next on the list, and I think we both would agree with this, but our list, it's what we like, but it is the correct list. So, but in the Marvel franchise, we're not going to put the Marvel franchise. That'd be cheating. But we are going to take the Infinity War Endgame. They go right together. They kind of they're two parts of the same movie. It's 6 hours, almost 5.5 hours of entertainment. But Infinity War Endgame would be definitely on both of our lists, and something we would tell people you need to check this out. Now I get to the pushback would be, well, there's a lot of stuff you need to see before you understand what's happening in Infinity War. But I think you jump on it pretty quick if you're even familiar with these characters at all. I think you could jump in right there, and it's the epic, the greatest achievement of comic book cinema that there is these two movies, and you get all the characters. They're all there on the screen for you. You get to experience a lot of things. So I think that would be definitely something would be on the ultimate list. So far, to recap,
and a good honorable mention was Black Panther, because we both agreed that it was, but we chose. We took Infinity War and Endgame over that one because it does have everybody in it.
Right.
Yeah.
So you get a little bit of it. So far, our definitive ultimate list of Disney content that you need to consume during your quarantine, if you haven't yet, is The Mandalorian, The Imagineering Story, Pinocchio or Snow White, Infinity War and Endgame, and the Toy Story franchise. All right, those are some big ones. All right, so what do we got next? What's going to the final five?
Well, I would be surprised if there's anybody on the planet who hasn't seen them. But for the sake of the list, the original 3 Star Wars movies.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The storytelling,
which I'll almost put on my other list as a family night, but 3 movies I was trying to do it. The most we can usually ever pull off on a family night is 2 movies. So to watch the whole trilogy as a family was pushing it. But if I was taking them to a deserted island, yes.
I think you're right. In the original trilogy too, because there's a lot of good stuff mixed up here, there, and everywhere. But the magic of those original 3 are just this is A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. We're talking about the story of Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, and Leia and Han and Chewie and R2 and C-3PO. It's an incredible universe of just imagination and the time it was made. I also love kind of that look of that sci-fi look of it's all real. They're puppets. It's not. There's no CGI
right
in that era. Right. It's just all manipulated to make you. It's just a different era of cinema, which I really enjoy too, and I think it's really cool to watch.
Yes, and I think there's a word that a charm.
Yep.
About them that's because there's a vintage feel to it.
It's good versus evil. Yeah. There's clear lines. But also it pulls at you with there's good in people, and the whole Darth Vader kind of being one of the greatest villains in cinema.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So yeah, definitely we got the original Star Wars trilogy on there. All right, moving on from there to the final 4 slots on the list.
This might get This is where it was tougher.
Yep. You want to do it? I'll throw this out there.
I'm going to let you go ahead because you were very strong on this one.
So you could, in this era, you could pick a few things, and different people will argue strongly for theirs. But for me, and you'll know as soon as I say it, it's Aladdin. Of the 90s Disney animation, which is really the golden age of like, when it just took, like, you have The Little Mermaid.
It's usually referred to as a Renaissance.
The Renaissance, right?
Yeah.
You have The Little Mermaid, you have Beauty and the Beast, you have The Lion King. I mean, these huge animated movies. The Beauty and the Beast was nominated for Best Picture.
Right.
Not Best Animated Picture, Best Picture.
Best Picture.
And so you could make arguments, and I understand different people would, but I felt that, well, first of all, I like Aladdin the best out of them, so there's that, and it's our list. The second thing is I felt like it's something for everybody. It's more, it's not a princess movie, which is they're great too. Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast are fantastic, but it's just a little more like for everyone.
Right.
Man, Robin Williams as the genie, I think is still the most memorable character in that entire genre era. On the screen in animation. I could tell you the other characters, but can you tell me who played those other memorable characters? I mean, Robin Williams just kind of jumps off the screen at you, and there's no mistake that will never be replicated. I think it's genius.
Okay. I
love the soundtrack. I think we wanted to pick. We could pick a lot of those, right, and put them on a list.
But we were going to limit it to one,
right? So
because we have only 10 things on the list.
Really hard to Aladdin, but you don't disagree with that, do you?
No, I love Aladdin, and it's tough. All the writing and the characters in all those movies is so great. I do think Aladdin is a great fit for a lot of people, and if you haven't seen it, it's definitely one you need to see.
Absolutely. So moving on from there, we actually we have this one comes from a little bit of left field, and I think this will be a surprise to most people on the list, and it probably wouldn't make a lot of lists, but we both think this is underrated and just have seen the impact on our children with this,
right?
And that is the Gravity Falls series,
yes,
from the Disney Channel, originally, right? And I'm new to this, so explain to you. You knew more about it than I did.
Well, it's just a really funny series. It's just really well written, and it's just very different. There's nothing really quite like it.
When did it come out? Do you remember? Because everything's on Disney Plus now, and my kids have just recently discovered this show, and so they're binging it, and they're obsessed. I have one kid that's like buying the journals and the books, and it's it seems to be incredibly well written, like you said, funny.
Yeah, it was about what I thought. It was 2012 and 2014.
Super creative. There's a lot of the conspiracy theory kind of undertones and just really interesting stuff.
Yes, and it has a lot of mystery to it, lots of codes, and lots of fun things with it that is very different.
Yeah, we were going through some of those Disney Channel series.
Yeah, we were looking at if you've not seen it, this would be a great one to check out. It's just really well written, really fun, and fun for the whole family. There's a little bit for everybody.
I love that. Kind of like, honestly, kind of maybe an honorable mention. We talked a little about Phineas and Ferb. I could watch that.
Well, Phineas and Ferb is definitely one that makes you laugh.
Right.
I mean, it always makes me laugh. I mean, I definitely had daughters that on Disney Channel. My son and I were laughing at Phineas and Ferb, and they were wanting to watch Hannah Montana.
Yeah.
So it was a whole different era. So.
Interesting. Yeah. I think the Gravity Falls, kind of hits everybody, and it's kind of a little more universal, like you said. Moving on from there, we have a couple of Pixar entries that we thought would be really fun. Do you want to? The Incredibles, I think we put on here just because it's so creative. It's so kind of different for the superhero genre. It's animated. It's Pixar at its best. It's so much fun for the whole family. We have the Incredibles on here, and when you get down to these, there's a lot of Pixar and a lot of stuff you could put on. But both of us were like, man, that would be we could.
Yeah, a great family movie. I mean, I think it's one of the great. I mean, just a great family movie. It's about the whole family coming together and everybody working their strengths together.
Yeah.
To be successful.
And taking it one step further, I mean, that society facing a danger and them pulling together and people coming together for the good of others. I think it's a heroic kind of tale also of heroes doing what they do best to put themselves in danger to help others. And
we've
it's a good
talked a
message
lot
right
about
now.
in the last few episodes just about Pixar having this running theme of letting go.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that this morning of the dad's really letting go of the past and kind of shifting his attention to his former glory days to taking care of this family and this new era. And you see they're all kind of doing that. They're all working through their own, letting go of their own selfishness to be a family union.
Right.
And yeah.
Great message. And definitely thrilled it's on this list. And finally, Ratatouille. And we talked about this. I know you love this movie. You love parts of this movie in particular. It's been inspiring to you. You talked about that on the podcast before. But man, every time I watch it, and I haven't watched it a lot. Like it hasn't been one of my kind of go-tos. But what struck me when it came up, when I was looking at the list of what you would put on a list like this, every time it comes on, I'm just captivated. I always laugh. I always find the animation beautiful, the scenery beautiful, the stories beautiful. It is inspiring, and I think I could watch that on repeat. I really do, and it's it flies under the radar for me. And I think you've talked a lot about like it's been pretty inspiring for you too.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the Pixar movies that's really, that's a good word, inspiring to me. I just think there's so much there, and it's just very different, just a different story altogether. We don't have a lot of musicals on the list. We do have a lot of action-oriented movies on our list, but again, this is our list of what we would take. And if we could only watch 10 movies maybe on Disney Plus, this would be kind of definitive.
I would call Aladdin a musical, personally.
Yeah, so I said, and there's not a lot of musicals, but we do have Aladdin. Toy Story's got a lot of music. But I do like this list. I think this list has something for everybody.
And we have an honorable mention there that I really was pushing hard to get on the list. And David, we both like the movie.
Yes.
But Robin Hood from
I love Robin Hood.
1973, the Fox, the cartoon Robin Hood.
And it was on my list. It's on my father's son list. We would Hercules and Robin Hood were definitely our two favorites from his childhood.
I love it. I think it tells the story of Robin Hood really well. I think it's funny. It's got the drama. I love the voice actors in it. I love the classics, the music in it. I just everything about it. And I grew up with it and watched it on repeat as a kid too. So it's a little nostalgic for me too. So we have that as an honorable mention on our list here.
Yes.
And interesting,
which again, a lot of people might not pick that one as a must see.
They ought to,
but
and again, why do you think the reviews on that aren't as like universally like? Why is that not held up as like classic?
I don't know.
Awesome
Everything from all the animation from the 60s, Dalmatians, Sword in the Stone, Jungle Book. I mean, Dalmatians and Jungle Book, they're kind of considered, they were in the vault. I mean, they kind of, but the Robin Hood, Aristocats, Rescuers, all the ones from the 70s just never get the attention I think they deserve. I think it was just a weird time in history where people had gotten the wrong vibe from Disney. It was like Disney was old and old-fashioned, and there just wasn't anything new there. And I don't know if that was really true. So I think everything gets just a bad rap from being in that era. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Because I mean, I think they're all good. I mean, they're not all my favorites, but Rescuers, Robin Hood, some of them have some great action stuff in them, and lots of fun family. They're just maybe geared a little bit more towards children to a lot of people's taste at that time.
Right. Well, I think this is a great list. We hope that's helpful for you, and it's always fun to talk about. We'd love to know what would be on your list. Please, we have nothing else to do. We're all stuck inside being quarantined. So write us. We can all communicate, right? So send us an email. We'd love to read. We may read a few of those on the next podcast when we do this. But you can contact us through our website, whyilovedisney.com, or you can get a hold of us through Twitter, whyilovedisney1. On there, we are trying to retweet and post news of Disney closings and Disney news throughout this coronavirus epidemic that we're all in prayer that it goes over and blows over really fast. That is affecting a lot of people. Again, join us in concern and thoughts and prayers for all affected, not only though obviously those who are sick directly, but also those who are affected with their jobs and just are encountering great hardship right now due to the closings and kind of the quarantine efforts, the social distancing that's happening. So we're out there, but we're here, and we can keep talking about it and encourage each other and be optimistic and positive and drown ourselves in Disney gladness and goodness.
And if you got a top 10 list of things that you think are must-sees on Disney Plus, let us know. Or just top 10 movies you want to watch during this season, let us know what those are.
Absolutely. So until next time, we thank you for joining us, and we hopefully during this we'll get a few more podcasts a little more often, and we'll talk a little more real soon. So have a great rest of the day. And until next time, I'm Dustin and David. We're signing off.